What if Darth Vader was an alcoholic, breathing heavy? A Star Wars fan fiction. Chapter 1. Maintenance. The medical droid's servo motors whirred anxiously as it completed the final modification to Lord Vader's life support system. The meditation chamber's dim red lighting cast long shadows across the Dark Lord's seated form. "The secondary induction port is fully operational, my lord," the droid reported, its vocabulator trembling. "You may now intake liquids directly through the auxiliary feeding system. Though I must note, this modification violates several Imperial safety protocols. Your concerns are noted and irrelevant." Vader's mechanical breathing filled the spherical chamber. "Leave me!" The droid practically fled, leaving Vader alone with his prize. A bottle of aged Corellian whiskey, acquired through channels that would never appear in Imperial records. 3 months had passed since he'd discovered this solution. 3 months since a chance encounter with a wounded, dying Imperial officer who'd begged for whiskey to ease his passing had given Vader an idea. The amber liquid had done what years of dark side meditation could not. It silenced Padmé's voice, stopped her accusations, dulled the perpetual agony of charred flesh pressed against cybernetic connections. With practiced precision, Vader connected the bottle to his suit's new port. The whiskey flowed directly into his feeding tube, bypassing his ruined throat. The burn spread through what remained of his digestive system. And then, nothing. No dreams of Mustafar, no children crying in the Jedi Temple, no Padmé dying by his hand. Just beautiful, numbing silence. Chapter 2. Operational Efficiency. "Lord Vader, the Rebel corvette is powering up its hyperdrive." Captain Neda's report died in his throat, as invisible fingers constricted his windpipe. But something was wrong. Vader's force grip, usually precise as a surgeon's blade, wavered like a broken hollow projection. Neda dropped to the deck, gasping but alive. Plot, a pursuit course," Vader commanded, his vocoder slurring almost imperceptibly. "Maximum velocity." "But, sir," Lieutenant Venka ventured, "at maximum velocity through that asteroid field." "Did I stutter, Sir Lieutenant?" The bridge fell silent except for Vader's labored breathing, which seemed more erratic than usual. Admiral Pyatt watched from his station as 3 Star Destroyers nearly collided following Vader's erratic commands. This was the 7th tactical error this week. The 4th officer to survive a force choke that should have been fatal. Later, while Vader attended a holo-conference with the Emperor, Pyatt made an unscheduled inspection of the Dark Lord's quarters. What he found chilled him more than any rebel threat. Bottles. Dozens of them, hidden behind meditation equipment, magnetically attached beneath consoles, floating in the hyperbaric chamber's maintenance compartments, all Corellian whiskey, all empty. The Dark Lord of the Sith, the Emperor's iron fist, the Empire's most feared enforcer, was a drunk. Chapter 3. The Cantina Incident. The cesspit of Mos Espa made Mos Eisley look cosmopolitan. Vader had come personally, following a lead about rebel suppliers. His presence in the cantina created a bubble of terrified silence that rippled outward from the entrance. But tonight, the pain was worse. The whiskey reserves on his Star Destroyer had run low, and his suit's reservoir was empty. The cantina's selection gleamed behind the bar like liquid salvation. "Whiskey," Vader commanded the Rhodian bartender. "Your strongest." The green-skinned alien fumbled with the bottle, its hands shaking. "Lord Vader, how will you—" Vader had already calculated this. His mask's emergency induction port, designed for field medical procedures, could work. He'd modified it himself 3 hours ago. "Drunk and desperate," the seal hissed as he opened it, revealing a small aperture near his respirator. The attempt to pour was awkward. Liquid splashed against his mask, pooling in the breathing vents. The burn of alcohol in machinery designed for oxygen sent warnings cascading across his helmet's display. Frustrated, humiliated, and thoroughly intoxicated, Vader's rage exploded outward. The Force erupted from him in an omnidirectional wave. Tables splintered. The bar itself cracked down the middle. Bottles exploded in a symphony of shattering glass. 14 patrons were crushed against walls. The Rhodian bartender simply ceased, compressed into something unrecognizable. When the stormtroopers arrived, they found Vader standing in the ruins, whiskey dripping from his mask's breathing vents. "Rebel sympathizers," he declared, his voice more machine than man, all of them. The troopers didn't question it. But the story spread through the ranks like wildfire. Chapter 4. Disturbance in the Force. The Emperor's hologram materialized in Vader's meditation chamber without warning. Vader barely had time to force-push the bottles behind his medical equipment. "Lord Vader," Palpatine's voice dripped with false concern, "I sense a disturbance. Your connection to the dark side wavers. It stumbles. The rebels have been more elusive than anticipated, Master." The words came out measured, controlled. Vader focused all his will on maintaining clarity. "Indeed." The Emperor's yellow eyes narrowed. "Yet I sense something else. A weakness, a dilution of your hatred." Since discovering the whiskey, Vader's meditation sessions had transformed. Instead of channeling rage and pain into dark side power, he floated in an alcoholic haze, watching the bottles orbit him in lazy circles. The Force still obeyed, but sluggishly, like trying to grip objects through thick gloves. "There is no weakness, Master, only determination to find the rebels. See that it remains so. I would hate to think my apprentice required liquid courage to face his duties." The transmission ended. Vader sat in the darkness, breathing heavily. The Emperor knew. Of course he knew. A vision flickered before him, Obi-Wan, standing amid not the bodies of younglings, but hundreds of bottles. "You've become the very thing you swore to destroy, Anakin. A slave, not to the dark side, but to the bottle." Vader ignited his lightsaber, slashing at the vision. His blade met only air and the sound of shattering glass. Chapter 5. Interventions. Admiral Piet had served under Lord Vader for 3 years. He'd seen the Dark Lord massacre incompetent officers, torture rebel prisoners, and destroy entire communities without hesitation. But he'd never seen him like this. The mission to capture the rebel cell on Bothawi should have been simple. But Vader, 3 days without alcohol, thanks to Piet's careful removal of every bottle from the executor, was deteriorating. His hands shook visibly as he attempted to force-choke the fleeing rebel spy. The invisible grip formed, released, failed again. The spy escaped into hyperspace with critical intelligence about Imperial fleet movements. "Admiral," Vader turned, his cape swirling. Even through the mask, Piet could sense the rage. "Why are my quarters empty?" "Empty, my lord?" "You know what I mean." The lightsaber at Vader's belt hummed to life. "Where are they?" "Lord Vader, the Emperor's inspection." The red blade stopped centimeters from Piet's throat. "The Emperor?" "He arrives within the hour, my lord. I thought it best to ensure everything was regulation." The lightsaber deactivated. Vader stood frozen, a statue of black armor and labored breathing. Without a word, he turned and strode toward his chambers. Pete lived, but he wondered if he'd simply traded a quick death for a slow one. Chapter 6. Master and Apprentice. "You reek of it," the Emperor said simply. They stood in Vader's private chamber, Master and Apprentice, the space between them charged with deadly potential. "I don't understand, Master." "The weakness, the pathetic need to numb yourself." Palpatine circled Vader like a predator. "I can smell it through the Force itself. Corellian whiskey, is it not? How common. The pain, The pain is your strength. Lightning crackled between the Emperor's fingers. Every burn, every breath of agony feeds your power. But you choose to drown it, to hide from it like a mewling child. I am stronger than ever. Then prove it. The Emperor's lightsaber materialized in his hand, its crimson blade casting shadows that seemed to move independently. Strike me down, if you can. Vader's own blade ignited. The whiskey in his System 3 bottle's worth, injected just before the Emperor's arrival, made the world swim. His first strike was wide. The second, too slow. The Emperor didn't even need to use his blade. Lightning caught Vader mid-swing, sending him crashing into the wall. Pathetic! Palpatine stood over his convulsing apprentice. I pulled you from the lava of Mustafar. I gave you power beyond measure. And this is how you repay me? By pickling yourself like some common smuggler? The lightning intensified. Vader's suit screamed warnings, multiple system failures, respirator damage, cardiac regulation failing. Perhaps young Skywalker would make a better apprentice. Yes, the boy who destroyed the Death Star. He has your potential without your weakness. Through the agony, through the alcohol, one word cut through: Skywalker. Chapter 7, Rock Bottom. Vader woke in his meditation chamber. His suit's diagnostic revealed the extent of the damage. 7 major systems compromised. Respirator functioning at 60%. Neural interface corrupted. It would take days of repairs. But worse was what he found in his communication logs. 17 transmitted messages, all sent during his blackout after the Emperor left. All to various rebel frequencies his drunk mind had somehow remembered from interrogations. He played one back. Padme, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The children, our children, I killed them all. Not just the Jedi, but ours. The ones we would have had. I see them sometimes. They have your eyes. They ask why Father drinks the pain away. I don't have an answer. You were right. You were always right. I'm breaking your heart. Still breaking it. Every day, every bottle. The message devolved into static and mechanical sobbing, a sound his vocoder was never designed to make. His hands found the emergency stash, one bottle hidden in the chamber's ventilation system. But as he reached for it, his respirator failed completely. For 47 seconds, Darth Vader experienced true suffocation. Not the controlled agony of his suit's normal function, but complete oxygen deprivation. Medical droids found him unconscious, the bottle shattered in his mechanical grip, alcohol mixing with the lubricants leaking from his damaged life support. As they repaired him, one droid noted in its log, "Patient shows signs of severe substance dependency. Recommend immediate intervention." The droid was scrapped the next day, but its words echoed in Vader's mind. Chapter 8. The Choice. Lord Vader, we've identified the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. Vader stood in his repaired chamber, staring at the last bottle. Hidden, saved. His salvation and damnation in 40 ounces of amber liquid. Send me the file. The hologram materialized, and time stopped. Young face, sandy blonde hair, Padme's eyes, that stubborn set to the jaw that was purely Anakin. Luke Skywalker. The bottle exploded in his grip without conscious thought. Glass and alcohol scattered across the chamber floor, reflecting fractured images of his son's face in puddles of wasted whiskey. His son lived. His son was a rebel. His son was strong in the Force. And Vader had been too drunk to sense him, too numb to feel his own blood in the Force, too lost in bottles to recognize what should have been unmistakable. "My son," he whispered, the words barely audible through the vocoder. The choice crystallized before him. Continue drowning in whiskey and lose any chance of knowing his son. Or face the pain, all of it, and perhaps, turn Luke to his side. Vader knelt among the broken glass, not caring as it scratched his armor. He gathered every hidden bottle in the Chamber 12 in total, and destroyed them one by one with the Force. Each one hurt. Each one was a goodbye to numbness, to escape, to the lie that he could avoid his pain. "I will find you, my son," he vowed to the hologram, "and I will be present." Chapter 9. Withdrawal. The Jedi survivor on Dagobah's moon fought well for someone so young. She couldn't have been more than 20 born after the Purge, trained in secret. Vader's blade moved with newfound precision, 3 months sober, every nerve alive with unfiltered agony. The dark side had never felt stronger, fed by pure, distilled suffering that he no longer ran from, but embraced. "You're in pain," the young Jedi said, dodging his strike. "I can feel it. Such terrible pain. You don't have to—" "The pain is mine," Vader interrupted, his blade finding hers in a cascade of sparks. "I earned it. I own it. I will not numb it away." She tried something then, a light side technique, attempting to ease his suffering through the Force. For a moment, the agony lessened. For a moment, he remembered what it felt like to breathe without burning. The temptation was worse than any whiskey. "No?" He broke the connection, Force pushing her against a tree. "The pain keeps me sharp, keeps me focused, keeps me honest." Vader trusted his lightsaber, mortally wounding her. As she died, she said, "There's still good in you. I felt it." Vader stood alone in the swamp, breathing heavily. Not from exertion, but from the effort of choosing pain over relief. Every day without the whiskey was like this, a choice to feel everything. But feeling everything meant he could feel Luke out there, somewhere, burning bright in the Force like a beacon. Chapter 10. Relapse and Revelation. The pressure was immense. The Emperor demanded results. The rebellion grew bolder, and somewhere his son evaded every trap, every search. The bottle appeared in his hand without conscious memory of acquiring it. Black market. Untraceable. Just one drink to steady his nerves before the assault on Hoth. The whiskey burned away 6 months of sobriety in a single swallow. By the time the ground assault began, Vader was 3 bottles deep. The world moved in slow motion, sounds muffled through the alcoholic haze. He walked through the rebel base like a ghost, barely registering the evacuation happening around him. Then he felt it, that presence in the Force. Bright, pure, unmistakably his blood. Luke was here. Luke was escaping. Vader ran through the hangar, his cape billowing behind him. But the alcohol made him clumsy. He arrived just in time to see the X-Wing disappear into the sky. "No!" The scream that tore from his vocoder was inhuman. He fell to his knees in the snow, watching his son vanish again. The revelation hit harder than the Emperor's lightning. He was choosing whiskey over his son, just as he'd chosen the dark side over Padme. The pattern was clear, horrifying in its simplicity. Back on the Executor, Vader destroyed his entire quarters in a rage. Not at the rebels, not at Luke, but at himself. When the destruction was complete, he stood in the wreckage, breathing heavily. Never again, he vowed. And this time, he meant it. Epilogue. A new hope for sobriety. Cloud City's carbon-freezing chamber echoed with the clash of lightsabers. Red against blue. Father against son. Vader fought with clarity he hadn't possessed in years. 18 months sober. Every movement precise. Every Force technique crystal clear. The dark side roared through him, fed by unfiltered agony that he'd learned to transform into power. "You killed my father." "No, Luke." The words came easily now, without the slur of alcohol or the haze of denial. "I am your father." The boy's horror was exquisite. Real. Vader felt every note of it through the Force, unfiltered by any substance. This pain, his son's rejection, his own monstrous truth, he would not numb. Could not if he ever hoped to have Luke at his side. "Join me," Vader extended his hand, steady as bedrock, no tremor, no hesitation. "And together we can rule the galaxy as father and son." Luke chose to fall rather than take that hand. Vader stood at the platform's edge, watching his son disappear into the clouds. Later, in his quarters aboard the Executor, he sat before a single bottle, still sealed, still full, a reminder of what he'd been, what he could become again if he let his guard down. He stared at it for a long time, then at the stars where he knew Luke was somewhere, healing, growing stronger. The bottle remained unopened. His breathing, for the first time in decades, sounded almost peaceful. Years later, aboard the second Death Star, as the Emperor's lightning tore through his systems, as his life support failed, Vader would think of that bottle, still unopened, still waiting. But he didn't need it anymore. He had his son to save. And love, real, present, unfettered love, was the only spirit Anakin Skywalker needed as he threw the Emperor down that shaft, finally and completely free. "Tell your sister," he wheezed to Luke, mask finally removed, seeing his son with his own eyes for the first and last time. "You were right about me." The tears on Luke's face were all the absolution he needed. Anakin Skywalker died sober, saved, and at peace.